CA says yes when the banks say no. That's why Alberta has trusted Mortgages to Go for over 23 years. If you need cash and have equity in your home, you're approved instantly, guaranteed. Call 1-888-888-5998. That's 1-888-888-5998. With Mortgages to Go, you'll say, I'm good to go.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you can, sports fans, stay informed with Sports 1440. Stream us. Listen to us on the AM dial. However you consume this radio station, thanks for listening.
With Play Alberta, backing the home team goes beyond the bets. That's because your picks have provincial impact. Play Alberta is the only app in the province that puts all revenue directly back into supporting programs and services that Albertans rely on every day. By investing in the General Revenue Fund, every play, bet, and buy made on Play Alberta helps make a difference across the province. It feels good to know your fund goes further at home. Visit playalberta.ca/Gregor to learn more. Must be 18 plus to play. If you gamble, use your game sense.
New at Papa John's, the spinach Alfredo chicken tomato pizza. Say it with me now. Spinach Alfredo sauce, grilled chicken, fresh Roma tomatoes, all on our fresh, never frozen pizza dough. 4 favorites, 1 pizza. So let's run it back. The spinach Alfredo chicken tomato pizza. Right now, a large for just $18.99. Delivery or carry it. Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's.
O'Hanlon Paving is looking for Finnish skid steer operators, Finnish grader operators, Class 1 drivers, and more to join their Edmonton road crew team. Bring your positive attitude and great work ethic to their job fair, Friday, May 8th from 10 till 3. Visit o'hanlonpaving.com/careers.
Party people!
The Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440. Can you fit Sports Encyclopedia on a business card?
Presented by Wolf GMC Buick. We're making it easy. WolfGMCBuick.com.
Welcome to the Lowdown. Today's show, the takeaway from Oilers media avails on the weekend. Prepare for loud noises. The Lowdown with Lowetide brought to you by Wolf GMC Buick. We're on Sports 1440 and YouTube and other places too. We're brought to you by Wolf GMC Buick. It's Truck Month featuring their best deals of the year. Ask about 0% financing plus extra discounts for Costco members. WolfGMCBuick.com. I mentioned Sports 1440 AM and YouTube. We're also on Radio Player Canada, iHeartRadio, sports1440.ca, Apple and Spotify podcasts. After the show, we tweet it out on X. Wherever you can't miss us. You have to avoid us like the plague in order to miss us. That's how many places we are. We're on Twitter at Lowetide, at Declan Krueger, at JFenwick04. Our special guest today, we've got 2 very good headliners of the day. Rachel Krychak at 1240 and Jason Gregor coming up at 1:20 today. My goodness. And remember, I gave everybody an assignment on Friday. I said, make a trade. Don't care how you make it. Don't care the details. Maybe you don't include something. Don't care. Make a trade. So we'll see if everybody did their homework. It is now time for the introductions. He brings tremendous zeal and a love for sports, but has enough time for movies, olives, and to go meet the family. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Josh Fenwick. Josh Fenwick, everybody.
Yeah. Shout out to work-life balance, baby.
Well, you got it now, not living in a car anymore. Good job.
Hey, you know what? It was tough, but I finally upgraded to a closet.
Remember how many times I said comb your hair, and you did, and look what happened.
I guess so. It was a wonderful weekend of sports. I spent a lot of time watching it. It was phenomenal. I mean, how often do you get to watch 4 Game 7s in one weekend?
It's crazy. It really was. He picked the Celtics over the 76ers, and I can't even blame him, but I would like an explanation. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Declan Krueger. Declan Krueger, everybody.
Well, just for the record, so did
everybody.
I was going to say Josh specifically, but yeah, everybody. We'll get into it this show, I'm sure. Really quickly, shout out Joel Embiid for, as Josh pointed out, being the best player in that series. Shout out Paul George for turning back the clock and playing some defense. And shout out really the entire 76ers roster for showing fight, but shout out VJ Edgecombe for being that green in the league and carrying the minutes he carries. What a series by the 76ers.
So here's the deal. I'm sure you guys read or talked about or listened to or have heard about the Oilers media avails on the weekend. And I got to say that from GM to coach to players, everything I heard rang true. I think they were straight up very intelligent human beings. And they are aware of the issue, or issue, as our CBC friends say. And there's a danger here because when you're going to reevaluate everything in a season that has ended in a disappointing way, sometimes you make a mistake. Reading the tea leaves, I think the coaching staff will not return intact. We'll see how many changes are made. I think that based on what Stan Bowman said, Trent Frederick will be back, and I hope it's on the line with Colton Dock. There will be, I think, changes in things like outlets and forechecking and just the structure of the team and whose responsibility is what, and they have to take it seriously. Everybody has to buy in. I think that was one of the main problems this year. And they obviously have to do better, and there's going to be some upgrades, and maybe it's in goaltending. I don't see it out there, to be honest with you, but that's the job of Stan Bowman and his staff, and we'll see how it goes. Generally speaking, I thought what fans were given on the weekend was a very frank, honest assessment of the team. Now, it went in weird directions where people were saying, maybe McDavid wants out this summer. And I'm like, I listened to the tape. I didn't hear that, but whatever. But at some point in time, other markets are going to grab what is the most, interesting to the fan base that they represent. And that's how that works. But I found it refreshing. I didn't see anybody, in the past. I'll use Mike Smith and Ethan Morrow as examples. Players have sort of, misdirected any possible personal, involvement in the mistakes or the failures. I didn't see that on the weekend. I felt like everybody did. I've got a couple of surprises. I'll have to listen to it again, but I think Stan Bowman said that he endorsed the split of Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid, and then endorsed putting them back together just before the beginning of the season, which I believe was, a turning point in the year in that you've invested in these players, and now you're not going to get them into a position to succeed. So I'm not sure how this goes, but we're going to find out. And if there's a coaching change, that loud noise will come soon. So I'm going to warn you now. No matter what we're saying at any particular time, we might be talking about the Oilers, the 76ers, Olives, backyard barbecues. We're going to end it and get right to that, whatever it occurs, because we know you want to hear the breaking news, and we know it's coming, just like breaking glass in that Eurythmics song. All right, your thoughts on the weekend of the Edmonton Oilers, Declan?
Well, like the honesty was very refreshing. Like, I think hockey more so than football and basketball, and I think that's probably because football and basketball have more divas. They're a little more media trained, and it's a little bit more like they'll kind of beat around the bush, and they'll kind of like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a little less direct, I think, generally speaking, whether that's post-game media avail, whether that's post-season media avail, whether it's an intermission interview. It just seems to be a little bit more vague. But this seemed very direct from all parties involved. I thought Stan and Chris were kind of taking some shots at each other a little bit, like kind of talking about how they weren't on the same page, and obviously not outwardly saying it was the other one's fault, but there were just some hints of like, hey, I was doing this, but I was doing this over here. Connor and Leon, like, Leon makes a great point. Like, he's like, we got 2 years to figure this out. And I think that's kind of a reality people don't want to accept. And maybe 2 years turns into 8 or 10 or whatever.
Or 1.
Yeah. Like, great point as well. Maybe it's 1. We'll figure that out down the road. But he makes a great point that, like, I think everyone kind of has had on the tip of their tongue, but doesn't really want to say, because I've been very big on this. I don't know where you guys come out. Like, as blessed as we are, or as lucky as we are, I should say, to watch Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl 82 times a year and have these runs, there is an element of underachievement. to what's happened so far in a decade plus. Like, I don't think I'm breaking any news in saying that, obviously, with the lack of a Stanley Cup. So for Leon to kind of bite down on the mouthpiece and say, like, listen, we got 2 years to figure it out. Like, we have to do it. Credit to him, because I think it's something everyone was kind of thinking and no one wanted to say. And it obviously came from Leon's mouth. Now, Connor, he was, I would say, even more direct when he was talking about the organization took a step back. And he obviously did kind of take the captain's role and say it starts with me and it starts with Leon. Fair. But I think that was another thing that sometimes players want to, like, some players are players. They accept the role of being a player, taking charge in the locker room, taking charge on the ice, etc. And a lot of times you'll kind of hear them say, like, you know, these things are out of my control. That's not up to me, whatever. Connor came out and said, like, we took a step backwards. And it was pretty scathing, maybe is too harsh for word to hear him say that. But again, it was refreshing because it reinforces that once again, for the, at the very minimum, 5th, 6th year in a row, but probably you could expand that to 10, 11. It is gut check time and it is go time, and the window is now, and it needs to be figured out.
Josh.
Yeah, I think you made some, excuse me, my apologies. You make some great points about Leon. Like, his post, his media avail was really, really good. And the thing that he did is that what we've all mentioned is, oh, you know, Connor McDavid only really has 2 years. He's the first one to really come out and be like, hey guys, like,
he was yelling at us.
The clock is ticking. Okay. Like, I know you see it. I know I see it. Everyone's seeing it. And I just have to be straight up about the fact that, like, we might not have a lot of time left in this window that we've got. And so everybody needs to be better. And then obviously Connor echoing that sentiment of the whole franchise took a step back, starting with him, all those things. Congrats to Connor for taking that. But it was really just like I think Connor and Leon put Cates on notice.
You see, here's what I think. You know, when this team plays well, everybody buys in. And when this team doesn't play well, no one buys in. And it begins at the top. So what I would respectfully like to see is that when the fall comes and it's opening night and Connor McDavid is facing a 1-on-3 as he enters the zone, that he passes the puck off or shoots it into the corner. Because a lot of the defense of hockey occurs at the opposition blue line or in the opposition zone. And the Oilers at times this year were absolutely brilliant at cycling the puck and keeping it down low, specifically the Draisaitl, Podkolzin line and Kapanen line. So that line could get rolling along the wall. Leon, the big guy, put that butt in the other guy's chest, and now there's nowhere to go, and they could keep the puck down low and away from the Edmonton end for a long time. That's defense. We don't look at it as defense, but it is. And part of the problem that the Oilers have is that Connor McDavid is so fantastic and so fast. The offense happens fast, but so do the turnovers. And I think that one of the things I would like to see is that there's more control to the sorties into the offensive zone for everybody, but specifically when McDavid gets frustrated and he's trying to do too much. That's a maturity issue, and he's a very smart player. But I think that's an area that he could work on. And I think that when we say Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are, you know, putting the Edmonton Oilers on notice, you know, they've been here all 11 years too. And I understand we blame the goaltending, and I understand we blame the defense, but it begins at the top. And if there's going to be a structured, organized defense and a structured, organized team, then the buy-in has to be from the top, from the very top. And I don't think this year is a very good year for Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl to announce their frustration with the rest of the team. Not that they did that, but what I would like to see in the fall is more structure, the ability to adapt, because everybody knows what the Edmonton Oilers are going to do. They get frustrated and they start making those stretch passes. This is pretty easy to figure out. What I think increasingly is that you're going to need a different message. I'm not saying a head coach, but maybe an offensive coach, because whatever was happening to this team, when the forwards and the defense were gapped too far and the only way to get it up was the stretch pass, somebody either wasn't listening or the coaches weren't on the same page. The communication wasn't there. So when we look back on all of those words that were said on the weekend, one of the few things that I just sort of reject is the idea that McDavid has put Edmonton on notice. Because guess what? As frustrating it is for McDavid, it's frustrating for ownership, management, and the fans too. Are you in or are you out? Because This team has more than enough skill to win the Stanley Cup, but they don't have more than enough discipline to win the Stanley Cup. And that's the message that I think Edmonton Oilers fans are trying to send to this team is we don't care, if you win 2-1 or 3-2 or 7-3, but you have to win. And part of that is having structure and getting support. The teams that are like, just because you do that doesn't mean you're going to win. The Tampa Bay Lightning of all teams, we're going to talk about them in a second. Tampa Bay Lightning of all teams, they played brilliantly well, and they lost the damn series. That happens. That happened to the Oilers against Florida, certainly in the first final, and I think the second final too. It does happen. And there's every chance, I'm going to say this now so that people understand this, there's every chance whatever change the Oilers make this year won't work, and that they won't work in 2 years in a row, and that Connor McDavid leaves, and that the highlight of this organization during the Connor McDavid era and Leon Draisaitl era was the true trips to the Stanley Cup final. That's a fact. If there's no change, if the same things are happening next year, if it's a 1-on-3 and you're still trying to deke through everybody and not using your line mates, if there's a sense that the stretch pass is still the ideal, if there's a sense that the gaps between forwards and defense is fine, the Edmonton Oilers aren't going to win one goddamn thing. I'm sorry for swearing, but it's true. The bottom line here is the Edmonton Oilers have to straighten up and fly right. It's right in front of them. Even when you play disciplined hockey, you're not guaranteed to win, but you sure as have to start there, and they haven't started there, and they can do it, but they never stay with it, and it is highly frustrating. Now, Montreal Canadiens beat the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm watching the game, and there's like 2 shots on net, and one of them went in, and then they got the winning goal, and I'm like, I felt like Ken Dryden and Patrick Waugh were in my brain saying, you see, it's happening all over again. And, give me an idea about what that would look for a basketball team where you're not getting any shots, but they're going in, and you got the lead in the fourth quarter, and you're going to win the damn thing. That was an amazing hockey game.
But can we, okay. Sorry, I wanted to jump back to something you said there, and that very, very well said soliloquy. But yeah, we can move on to this series now. Maybe I'll circle back to it.
No,
later.
do it now, and then we'll go back to the.
Because my only thing, I think you said everything. Well, 99% of what you said was perfectly said, very, very, very eloquent. It's not even a pushback; it's just a question I had because you did very briefly mention that you don't think the Connor McDavid put Edmonton on notice.
No, what I think is that he put the team on notice, including himself.
Okay. Yeah.
If he did say put Edmonton on notice, I reject that. I'm sorry. He's part of the team.
Yeah. No, the only thing is he talked about, veterans needing to step up and be better.
Sure.
And of course he's including himself
in
this.
Management needs to step up too.
Oh, absolutely. Like he said, his words, I agree with Leon. The organization as a whole has taken a step back. To me, that even including himself, rightfully so, sure. And that's leadership. Even still, that does feel like he's putting the team on notice.
Everybody's on. He can ask for a trade tomorrow, but I believe that he's telling the truth. He's a sincere guy. He said he wants to win in Edmonton, not forever. I mean, if they don't win in the next 2 years, then they might look at something. But I think he's committed to it. But my point is that being committed to it is great. Even if you commit to it and do everything right, you can still lose. Tampa Bay did last night. But I think that let's say they bring in a new coach. Who would you like to see the new coach be if they fire Chris Knobloch?
Well, who do I want it to be? Because
Sure.
I got a from the bleachers poll that I think Oilers fans would like, but I think has a 0.01% chance of
I know
happening.
exactly the name you're thinking
Yeah,
of now.
do you want to say it on 3?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
John Cooper.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say John Cooper comes in. John Cooper with a really good team that he has manicured and made his own for years and years and years, lost last night at a Game 7 against Montreal. Even when you do everything right, you can lose. You can. And I think that the 5 Stanley Cups in 7 years by the Edmonton Oilers in the 80s have sort of taken guys my age and said, why can't they do this? Well, it's really hard. It's really, really hard to do it. And when you misspend on the cap, that's nothing to do with the players. When you sign a player who's worth, say, $6.5 million to more, that impacts the whole team and gives the other side another extra quality NHL player. Those are true things. They do happen. But my overall point is the Edmonton Oilers right now, they have an opportunity. I don't know that they will take it because there's so much that would have to happen. The coaching staff has to, first of all, the general manager has to get enough really good NHL players. I think Bowman's done a really good job of signing players like Szymanski and Roslovic. The problem is now you've got to sign Roslovic. If you sign him, you got to sign him to a bargain deal. You're probably not going to get him at that price. You got to let him walk. You got to let Kapanen walk. If they're not going to sign for $2 million or 1.7, you got to let them walk because you can't overpay them. They're third line guys. So anyway, yeah, that's how I feel. I feel like I don't think Connor McDavid's threatening to walk. I think they're all in the same boat. They're under pressure to win it. Even if they do everything right, they might not. And the highlight of the McDavid era could already have been in the rearview mirror. That's my point. Now, Lightning Habs. Were you surprised Montreal won?
Well, here's the thing. I was surprised. I picked Tampa to win the series, obviously. Montreal had a great season. Like, if this had been a 1-8 seeding system in the playoffs, this would have been the number 3 and 4 team in the Eastern Conference, right? Like, they both had 106 points, two very, very strong teams. I was surprised to see Montreal get out of it. I just thought I thought their youth might have hindered them a little bit, same way I thought Anaheim's was going to hinder theirs. And obviously maybe changing the guard in terms of the experience versus youth thing based on those two series, who knows? It was a great series. I have a crazy stat from this series. You guys ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Of the 445 minutes and 22 seconds of total ice time in that series, 439 minutes and 45 seconds of those minutes, it was either tied or one team was up one.
Crazy.
This went 7 games. I think there were 4 OT games. Every single game was decided by one goal. Like, it is as close a first round series as you can get. But that said, if you're Tampa Bay, what a failure. Like, I'm sorry. I know it's a tough team.
But you can't fire John Cooper. That's nuts.
No, I don't.
They're not going to.
I agree. I don't think they will. But because here's the other thing. When you dig just a little deeper into these past 4 first round exits, that one was a 111-point team, and granted, that loss was the worst of the bunch, I would say. 2 of them were to the eventual Stanley Cup champions, and then this past season was to a 106-point team that, like I said, would have been the 3-4 matchup. So I don't think you do it either, but there are some kinks in Tampa. Like, as much as we obviously talk about Edmonton here and what we got going on, there are some kinks in Tampa that they got to rectify here. And 2 cups, like, that carries a lot of weight, but still.
Everybody has that's the nature of the cap era, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Man, I just was surprised. Now I really think Carolina's making the final.
Oh, I agree. I couldn't agree more. But by the way, like, take the narratives out of what a series.
Oh yeah,
like what
unreal series. Like, this was a great watch. Going between that and the Raptors game last night was super fun. But dude, like, I saw someone tweet out that said, "What did Montreal do to deserve all this good luck?" And the quote tweet was, "Waste Carey Price's entire career." And you know what? Fair enough. He did go to the Cup Finals once, but obviously, like, that was a bit of a Cinderella run. He got super hot and was healthy because it was COVID. But
that's what Montreal goalies do.
Yeah, but man, like, shout out to Dobish. He's
great run.
Like, to face the amount of shots that he faced against guys like Brandon Hagel and Nikita Kucherov are nuts. And then credit to this is the biggest credit, though. Credit to the Montreal defense for getting the rebounds out. Because at times, Dobish's rebound control was pretty sloppy. And they were like, honestly, it was like all 5 players were just like, oh, the puck. We got to stop that right now, and would kick it out and away and then get back into their defensive set. It was a crazy, crazy series.
Dryden, Walmsley, Waugh, Price, Dobish. It never ends. Montreal Canadiens will break your heart. It's my childhood talking, but it's true. Okay. We have Rachel Krychak coming up at 12:40. Jason Gregor at 1:20. We have rumors straight ahead. What's Declanations going to consist of at 1:40 today, sir?
So Mama MMA, fantastic main event this past weekend out in Australia, plus 2 huge boxing matches. So really excited to talk about that.
All right. Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440 and YouTube.
Your protein drink should work as hard as you do. That's why Booster Juice is hitting the gym harder than ever, brother. Meet your new gym buddies, the Way Too Good and Green Gains Booster Mixers. 2 new ripped and refreshing menu options that bench some serious protein. Perfect for pre or post workout. Way Too Good and Green Gains Booster Mixers taste like motivation. So what are you waiting for? Let's go!
Booster Juice. Canadian-born, blending since 1999.
Whether you're a craft beer connoisseur or more of a wine aficionado, There's always something new to discover at Sherbrooke Liquor, a unique, family-owned, independent liquor store. The selection? Incredible. The non-alcohol section is also very impressive. Sherbrooke Liquor, expert, knowledgeable staff with a passion for unique finds. More than just a liquor store, we're a community. Alberta's best, the one and only Sherbrooke Liquor. Wine, spirits, and oodles of beer. Visit SherbrookeLiquor.com.
Are you looking for safe and reliable transportation solutions for your wedding, corporate retreat, or golf trip? Look no further than Silent Rides, Alberta's premier charter bus company. Whether your group is big or small, Silent Rides has you covered. We offer 3 different sizes of units to cater to your needs, and we provide first-class service at affordable rates. Get your quote today. For more information and to request a quote, contact sales at 877-748-0991 or visit silentrides.ca.
Shoulder pain. It can make even the simplest things like reaching up, lifting a bag, brushing your teeth, or sleeping frustrating. Rotator cuff strains, impingement, arthritis, they're some of the most common issues we treat every day. I'm Grant Fedoruk, and at Leading Edge Physio, our team brings postgraduate training, evidence-based technology, and just the right amount of humor and humility to help you feel better. Because we never forget the most important part, the gratitude we feel for every patient who allows us the opportunity to care for them. Because life shouldn't hurt. When it does, leadingedgephysio.com.
From the first pitch to the final out, catch Toronto Blue Jays baseball games live right here. Don't miss a moment of Blue Jays baseball this season. Sports 1440 is proud to be the home of Blue Jays baseball.
Want to invest in Alberta's workforce, fill your talent pipeline, and get funding? Careers. The next generation connects employers with motivated, pre-vetted youth through funded internships. Easy, impactful, and risk-free.
When you work with a group like Careers who have experience in that area, they can demystify and navigate all the complex steps and stakeholders that have to be involved.
Visit careersnextgen.ca today.
For over 60 years, the folks at Diablo Boots have been selling the best Canadian-made boots. Handcrafted in Winnipeg, Canada West makes the best quality cowboy, biker, and work boots for Diablo Boots with replaceable soles and heels. Why buy cheaper quality like Ariat, Justin, and Red Wing made in China when Canadian-made is better? Support Canada's workers and Diablo Boots for the best boots. So save on boots by Save On Foods. That's Diablo Boots, 3340 Gateway Boulevard on the east side of Save On Foods. Canada West and Diablo Boots, the 2 best names in the boots business.
Here's the Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440.
Presented by Wolf GMC Buick. We're making it easy. WolfGMCBuick.com.
This is the Lowdown on Sports 1440 for Wolf GMC Buick. Check them out at wolfgmcbuick.com. It is Truck Month. Wild weekend for sports. We're going to talk about hockey, basketball, maybe a little baseball in this segment. It is called Rumors, brought to you by Great Canadian Solar. Great Canadian Solar has been helping homeowners and businesses harness the power of the sun for 15 years. Invest in solar and yourself, greatcanadiansolar.com. We all, listened to the media veils by the Edmonton Oilers on the weekend. We all came away with our own impressions about, what may happen. Most fans believe that the Edmonton Oilers will have a new head coach. I think that process is probably underway now. And if there is a new coach, that will be decided soon. I think there's a chance that Knobloch stays, remains for another whatever. No matter what happens, my suspicion is you'll get another Glenn Gulletson level assistant coach, even if Chris Knobloch remains. The problems that the Edmonton Oilers had are plentiful. We've talked about them. And we should also be mindful of the amount of time they played in the last 3 years. Since the fall of 2023, which includes obviously 3 years plus playoffs, 299 games. And the Ducks played 252. So like more than half a season was played by the Edmonton Oilers veterans, big minutes, heavy minutes. They're also banged up. We found out about some of them. Bowman did say that none of them require surgery, so they should be back in 100%, which is good news. But equally good is that they'll have a long, long rest. I think that the key is going to be, no matter who the coach is, the coaching staff has to have a plan, and they have to put it in place. We saw so many times this year that the structure of this team fell apart, and they would run around in their own end without the puck, and we know what happens. Either the goalie makes a great save, there's a penalty, or the puck's in the back of the net. And the possession time for the Oilers could have been higher if they were able to keep the puck in the zone. One of the refreshing things, and I don't think we should lose sight of what is positive about this team, of all the complaints and the grumblings, not a lot about the defense. The defense was thought to be pretty solid. I think the defense needed more help from the forwards, and I think some of the defensemen need to be take more time and pass more expertly. But part of that is that the forwards have to be close enough for that pass to make it, to count. Aside from buy-in, obviously the penalty kill was a big problem. People keep talking about goaltending. I don't want to be a downer, but I just don't see an option out there. Would like to get, I think, if you're the Edmonton Oilers, an upgrade on Roslovic, third line right wing. And I asked you boys to think of a trade on the weekend that the Oilers could make. Did we come up with anything?
I did.
What about you, Declan?
I did too.
Okay.
He's pretty excited.
I even named my trade.
Oh.
It's a workshop. It's the blockbuster reset for everyone involved trade.
Oh, wow. So maybe we should start there. Are you okay with that, John?
Yeah.
No,
Hey,
Josh, you go first.
No. Hey, you're the one that's preparing for a big blockbuster reset of the Edmonton Oilers.
I am. Now, I also we didn't really iron out how, like, obviously I didn't do something crazy where I'm like trading Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Zach Hyman for Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar.
Wait, your trade doesn't include Leon Draisaitl?
My trade does not include.
You weren't even trying.
Whoops.
Can you believe that? Here, I'll just give it to you. So, like I said, this is the blockbuster reset for everyone else involved. So, the Edmonton Oilers in this trade give up Darnell Nurse with no salary retained.
Oh boy.
They give up Tristan Jarry with no salary retained. They give up Quinn Hudson. They give up Ike Howard. They also give up their 2028 third and their 2027 second. Because you got to sweeten the deal a little bit, I think, when you're giving those two players away. Although we'll see how you guys feel about the richness of the trade when I get to the return. So again, Darnell Nurse, Tristan Jarry, Quinn Hudson, Ike Howard, 2027 second, 2028 third. And now that I've said it out loud, it seems a little bit rich, but you're getting Morgan Riley and Anthony Stolarz as the return.
Interesting. I'm intrigued by the Stolarz side. Riley is he's an interesting option. I can see why you would want to make that trade. He has some. He could use a fresh start, and he can. He has some things that the Oilers like.
As could Darnell Nurse. But now that I've said it out loud, I think I might have thrown a little too much in there.
Well,
my mind was in the ballpark.
Yeah, and you're also, one of the things we have to alter our brain parts about is the fact that with the increased cap number, money isn't so tight that you have to, stack 3 first-round picks onto a deal to make it happen. So I don't know that you're that far away. Stolarz is, for me, a really interesting option. He's one of a few guys on the list that I think might be a mild option for an upgrade. I like that idea. Both defensemen, I think, could use a change of scenery. And the other pieces we could haggle over that. But I'm not, I'm impressed with the work, and I like the idea. You're trading 2 defensemen who are maybe the fan base isn't thrilled with, but that doesn't mean that they can't play for the new team and play well. And then Stolarz is a nice option over Jarry.
I feel an upgrade.
What's Stolarz money at?
3.8.
Okay, so what does the dollar amount come out at? How much is Toronto taking on in this deal?
So it works out that Toronto, I didn't actually write it down, but Toronto would take on, hold on, 16-7, and they're giving up about 11.
Okay, so then maybe the extra pieces are warranted, but I get it. I think that's an interesting deal worth pondering. Well done, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. I just don't know I know you're intrigued by Stolarz. My thing is that I feel like you need a more certified guy
Well,
coming in between the pipes.
And you're going to have that a lot because everybody's different shades of gray
Yeah.
in goal, right? You got a few guys who are outliers in a good way, but are they going to get traded?
Yeah, and I'm not saying that like he's not a good goaltender because
No, I
obviously
get it.
he is, but like I feel like if you're really bringing in a goaltender, like you gotta sort of swing for the fences with it because they'll chew him up and spit him out. You know.
What's your trade?
Speaking of goaltenders,
I knew that was coming.
Speaking of goaltenders, one that conceivably could happen. Now, I don't have all the fancy math, whatever, but I think roughly this works out.
I don't have all your fancy math.
I don't have the number breakdown entirely, but I believe my mental guesstimation with Puckpedia made this work. So Edmonton sends out Darnell Nurse with 50% retained. Matt Savoy. And I said the 2027 second round pick.
Mm-hmm.
And they receive Philip Gustafson.
Okay. Now that's a target that I had anticipated. That's a lot.
Yeah, but
you're trading in conference.
You're trading in conference and you're getting an actual solidified goaltender IMO. Again, could be worked out. I know Savoy is a lot, but like you're not throwing a first in there.
You kind of can't. Like, you need your 28 first.
You need the 28 first.
Well, by 28, McDavid might be gone.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly, which is why you need that first.
Don't say that, but that's what I'm
No, but we have to.
Let's be realistic here.
Real,
it's
right?
entirely possible that he is no longer an Edmonton Oiler by that time. You need that first.
Yeah, you
But,
could be rebuilding by then.
Yeah.
Of course, if you trade McDavid, you might have a lot of firsts.
It's true. It's true. Hey, best player in the world. But you got to do. The problem is like you're sending out Darnell Nurse, who, like, we've all had a lot of problems with Darnell Nurse, and Lowetide. Every time you bring him up, you say, "Oh, well, he's not a lockdown defender, and he's not a puck mover." And I'm like, "Well, what is he? He's not one of these two things. He's just a guy skating out on the ice."
Well, he's a two-way guy, right? There's things that he can do that are strengths, and there are a lot of things that he does that you'd like him to do better.
And also, Darnell Nurse, he might flourish in a place like Mini. They have 5 bona fide defenders over there.
Also, they have structure. I think that
they have a lot of structure.
The Oilers are a team that is dedicated to freewheeling and creativity, and I think Nurse would flourish in a more structured environment. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Could be totally wrong. All right, you want to hear mine?
Yes.
It's a 1-for-1.
Oh, boy.
Oh, wow.
It's
Connor McDavid for Nikita Kucherov.
It's included in my Athletic article, which I know you gentlemen raced to read. But I think that I like the top 2 lines that the Oilers have. I think they could go to war with those guys, and so I was thinking about a third line and what it might look like, and so I have packaged Darnell Nurse to the St. Louis Blues for Jordan Kyrou.
Interesting.
Wow.
He's 27. He's coming off a year where he didn't get 20 goals or 50 points, but he can carry the puck, he can pass the puck, and he can score goals. And you're going to get him in a down year. It's similar to like the David Perron trade. Remember that one that happened 15 years ago or whenever it was? And you're now St. Louis needs toughness. They've got lots of defensemen, and they're expensive. But I think that this trade from the Edmonton point of view makes sense. I don't know that you'd have to include something or it might not work for St. Louis. But according to Jeremy Rutherford in an article at The Athletic, Kyrou is being pondered at least as a trade option.
Is there anyone else you would swap out in that 1-for-1?
Aside from Kyrou?
Yeah, no. From Edmonton's side.
Well, the problem, okay, guys, this is the problem with making a trade. Everybody's got a no movement, and I'm assuming that Darnell will move it. I don't know that he will, but he might waive it.
That was another thing that factored in. It would have,
Well, I don't think Nuge would waive, and I think they probably have a gentleman's agreement. They're not going to ask him.
That would be totally fair. That makes sense in my mind, I guess.
We did not get to this because it takes time, and I really wanted to discuss the Oilers, and we did. But I really, at some point, want to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs and what they're doing. We're going to talk about it with Rachel Krychak next. But in the 1 o'clock hour, I have some personal news right after the news, the sports update at 1. I have some personal news. And then can we agree we're going to come back to the Toronto Maple Leafs because Steve Simmons is just absolutely flattening people out at the media veil in Toronto right now. We've had Steve on the show before. He's a straight shooter, and he's doing exactly that. So we'll do that. On the way at 1:20, it's Jason Greger. 1:40, Declinations Mama MMA. At 1 o'clock, we're going to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs. And up next, Rachel Krychak. Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440 and YouTube, brought to you by Wolf GMC Buick.
Expand your brand with Fusion Promo Marketing. Fusion is your trusted partner for all things branded merch and apparel. Thousands of products perfect for businesses, sports teams, and corporate events. Fusion with a Z. Promomarketing.ca. Come for Canada's largest trade shows, the biggest names in entertainment, exhilarating sporting events, and more. And stay for the experience at the Edmonton Expo Centre. Looking for the perfect place to host your next big event? From trade shows to galas, meetings, and concerts, the Edmonton Expo Centre has the space, event expertise, and service to make your next event unforgettable. With over 522,000 square feet of flexible event space, in-house catering, and operational expertise, they bring your biggest vision to life. Learn more at EdmontonExpoCenter.com today.
With Play Alberta, backing the home team goes beyond the bets. That's because your picks have provincial impact. Play Alberta is the only app in the province that puts all revenue directly back into supporting programs and services that Albertans rely on every day. By investing in the General Revenue Fund, every play, bet, and buy made on Play Alberta helps make a difference across the province. It feels good to know your fund goes further at home. Visit playalberta.ca/Gregor to learn more. Must be 18 plus to play. If you gamble, use your game sense.
I'm Dr. Vance Elliott. The goal of every one of the thousands of hair restoration procedures I've performed is a full, natural-looking head of hair. I work directly with my patients for the consultation, the procedure, and the follow-up, so we can achieve the best results possible. When people see what we accomplish, I don't want them to think, "Wow, great hair transplant." I want them to think,
"Wow, great hair."
Go to drvanceelliott.com and contact us today.
Hey, it's Jamie from Green Drop Lawn Care. They may be teeny tiny, but chinch bugs can completely devastate your lawn or garden. If you have yellowing grass that doesn't improve with watering, you may already have them. At Green Drop, we'll identify them, treat them, and help you recover from the damage before it's out of control. Stop chinch bugs cold with Green Drop Lawn Care, Canada's lawn expert since 1979. Find out more and get started at greendrop.com.
Here's the Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440.
Presented by Wolf GMC Buick. We're making it easy. WolfGMCBuick.com.
It's 1240. This is the Lowdown, brought to you by Wolf GMC Buick. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate your time. That's some CanCon, right? That's your daddy don't know Toronto?
Sure is.
Yeah.
We like to mix in like one or two CanCon.
I love
CanCon
it.
pieces of show. Yeah.
I spent the day with Hollywoods in Toronto in Rocky Mountain House one day. We were at the Walking Eagle Motor Inn. Interesting band. I will say that. That's some great memories. I thank you. You weren't alive when that song came out. Did you know that? Both of you. Do we have Rachel?
We do. What like 84?
84, somewhere in there.
Right.
Early to mid 80s, as I recall. And I was aware, and I was completely aware of everything. You guys making stuff up about me. All right, we now are joined by Rachel Krychak from Betalytics. Rachel, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I have some Oilers questions, and then I want to get to what Steve Simmons is doing to the Toronto Maple Leafs after that. Is that okay?
Yep. We can definitely do that. I have some thoughts, that's for sure.
Okay, well, good. I'm looking forward to it. All right. We've heard from the Oilers players, coaches, and management And the takeaway is, I think, fair to say, changes in the air. How much change is needed this summer, and where do you see those changes coming?
I, for one, am very excited to read whatever article is going to come in the German newspaper this summer from Leon Draisaitl, because I love the little things that he says. And given what his closing press conference comments were, I think that it has the chance to be rather fiery this summer. So I'll definitely be watching for that. But I mean, I don't know how you listen to your two superstars say what they did as an owner and as a president and go, yeah, we can keep going. I don't know how you listen to Stan Bowman say that we need to upgrade the goaltending when, if he would have just kept Stuart Skinner, would have had millions of dollars to potentially sign, I don't know, Sergei Bobrovsky this summer. But he traded the expiring contract for a contract with term for an arguably worse goalie. So, I mean, I'm not sure how you can look McDavid and Draisaitl in the eye and say, yeah, no, status quo, we're not going to change anything. And we're just going to continue on and see what happens. I never like calling for people's jobs, but I think your main concern has to be McDavid and Draisaitl. And if your main concern is McDavid and Draisaitl, I'm not sure how either the coach or the GM can return.
I'm glad you mentioned that about McDavid, because I'm getting a lot of plenty of anger from Oilers fans who are talking about the media contemplating McDavid's future. But in fairness to the media, 2-year extension and then what McDavid said kind of invites speculation. Fair?
I'm not sure how you could have people mad at you when the front page of every TSN and Toronto newspaper situation is Austin Matthews and has been for 3 or 4 months at this point. Like, we're talking about two players who are expiring at the same time, who are the same age, who want to win. And if they don't believe that their franchises give them the best chance to win, they should leave, because players of that caliber should be winning Stanley Cups. And I very much include Draisaitl in that caliber of player. And so, yeah, Connor McDavid, like, you're right to be talking about it, because the reality of the situation is they absolutely cannot let him walk for free. And if you think that he is not going to be on side with what you're doing after next season, you kind of have to move him.
And I look at this situation and I go, it's got to be buy-in from everybody. But it also, I think you need somebody in charge at the coaching level who is going to be able to institute a plan. My big issue with this team this year has been structure, breakouts, penalty kill, all the things that coaches get involved in, who are X's and O's guys and are just really good at motivating people. And I like, there are coaches like that out there. And John Cooper's not going to shake loose, but there's really good coaches just below that level that are out there. This might be a good time to go shopping if you plan to do it at all.
So it's exceedingly rare that a coach who has won a Stanley Cup with one team is able to go to another team and win. Like, exceedingly rare. Obviously, I would think John Cooper would be the exception there. Now, I don't think John Cooper is going anywhere. I think John Cooper is going to be allowed to leave Tampa Bay when John Cooper feels he is ready to leave Tampa Bay. And I don't for a second think that it's going to be this year. Now, if he shakes loose, the Edmonton Oilers are going to be competing with what should be 31 other teams for the best coach in the game. And it's that simple. Bruce Cassidy is one of those coaches that I think is in that next tier, but he's won a Stanley Cup with another team. So he kind of fits that category of, like, do you want that type of situation? And I'm not sure that you do. And so you have to start to look around and say, okay, who is available that, might be a fit for the Oilers? I don't think that you can run it back. Do I think Bruce Cassidy is a better coach than Chris Knobloch? Yes, I do. But do I think Bruce Cassidy is the guy that's going to be able to elevate the Edmonton Oilers to win the Stanley Cup? I'm not necessarily confident in that either. And so I think there are some decisions that are going to get made about coaches, we're sort of waiting to find out in Toronto with Craig Berube. I don't necessarily think that's a good idea either. But is there a young coach that has won at the AHL level that you might want to take a look at? Because John Cooper had success at all of the levels prior to the NHL, and that is, quite frankly, one of the best predictors of success. Could Manny Malhotra be a guy that the Edmonton Oilers should look at? I would say, yeah, probably. I don't necessarily think NHL experience has to be the number one thing on the priority list. It's, can you win? And Manny Malhotra has proven that he can. And so I think if you're going to make a coaching change, it needs to be something that you're absolutely sure about.
Rachel Krychak, our guest on Sports 1440, the Lowdown with Lowetide. Okay, let's do it. Let's talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs. I was a big fan of Kyle Dubas. I love the analytics. I thought he did some good things. Obviously, it didn't work out. He moved along. They tried something else, and now they go with John Chayka with Matt Sundin. Interesting kind of combination. A lot of people are poo-pooing Sundin, but just like Joe Sakic, it puts a good face on the team, and we don't know how Matt Sundin is going to do in that role. Sometimes it works out. I like the analytics side, but let's talk about John Chayka, Matt Sundin. Is that the right choice in your opinion?
I think it's to be determined. I'm not going to be the person that is going to evaluate someone's GM tenure, A, at the age of 26, B, for a team that literally doesn't play in the city that he was the GM of the team in because it was that poorly run above him. Did John Chayka make mistakes? Obviously he did. There were draft picks stripped. He was suspended. That's one thing. But I don't think anyone can make a good faith argument that the Arizona Coyotes were a well-run team when they were in Arizona by their ownership group, or they wouldn't be in Utah right now. So I think you need to take some of what happened with John Chayka and go, some of that could be Arizona being Arizona, and none of that's going to be allowed in Toronto. The Sundin thing I actually really like. I, very similar to you, think that the Joe Sakic thing was very important for the Colorado Avalanche. We're talking about a former captain who understands the culture, and particularly in Toronto, where we're currently talking about potentially losing a captain of the team. No one better to have that conversation with than the former captain of the team. And I think there are some culture things that clearly need to be reset. There are some ways in which the Toronto Maple Leafs go about their business that could really use somebody who used to wear the C for the franchise going, that's not acceptable. That kind of behavior is not acceptable from a Toronto Maple Leaf perspective. We will not have that here. And I think Matt Sundin will also be better suited to look at the players in Toronto and maybe identify who is and isn't equipped to be successful as a Toronto Maple Leaf, because it's very difficult to do that if you haven't been a Toronto Maple Leaf. And I think that the same can be said about the Montreal Canadiens. I think the same can be said about the Boston Bruins, and on and on and on. There are certain franchises where it is absolutely beneficial to have somebody who knows what it takes to be a member of that hockey club. And that shouldn't be the be-all, end-all, but it should certainly be part of the calculus. And so I'm not going to write John Chayka off the way that everybody else is. I don't think that that's a very professional thing to do just because he doesn't fit the old boy hockey club mold. And I found it quite interesting, quite frankly, that he was pressed harder for his stuff in Arizona than Stan Bowman was for his stuff in Chicago.
It's interesting. It's also interesting that Simmons, I mean, the media avail, I don't think it got derailed, but what I've seen is there was some, there's a way in media where you can hit people with something that you have as a volley that's difficult to respond to. And 19 out of 20 people that Simmons talked to didn't have much good to say. Having said that, I mean, I don't know that I view that as a negative. Other general managers don't like the guy. I'm fine with that. Maybe they're a little bit worried about what he's going to do to them. I'm okay with my guy robbing the other team.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys who didn't like Kyle Dubas, and Steve Simmons had no problem running him out of town. And last time I checked, the Pittsburgh Penguins made the playoffs this year and had some pretty good contracts in Anthony Mantha and Yegor Chinahov, and the acquisition, quite frankly, of Stuart Skinner and Artur Shilov. Like, the guy's not a bad GM. Maybe the Leafs should have picked him over Brendan Shanahan when they made that ultimate decision. This screams of this guy's not in our club and he's had a checkered past. And you're right to question the checkered past, but could you be remotely professional when you do it? There is a way to ask a question that is going to elicit an answer. And the fact that you asked a question in a less professional manner to John Shaika than you did to Joel Quenneville or Stan Bowman, I think speaks volumes about Steve Simmons generally. And this is not a surprise to anyone who knows Steve Simmons at all. We're talking about a guy who violated HIPAA with Austin Matthews on 2 different occasions. This is not exactly a surprise, but I'm kind of the mindset of, if you're in the media and you're a writer, Steve Simmons is not a TV guy. He is a writer. You're writing a story. You want to ask a question that isn't a gotcha. It's a question that elicits a positive answer. And for my money, he got nothing out of that. And yes, it's reactive on Twitter, and I'm sure the Toronto Star loves that. But he looks wildly unprofessional, and I would not be surprised if there are some consequences associated with it.
Let's move on to the Montreal Canadiens winning against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Old guys like me, Rachel, are talking about, Ken Dryden and Patrick Waugh, and maybe somebody remembers Carey Price owning a series here or there. This seems to happen to the Montreal Canadiens a lot. I don't feel bad for John Cooper and the Tampa Bay Lightning, but they're a damn good team, Rachel.
Yeah. I would not be putting Jakub Dobeš in the Ken Dryden, Carey Price, Patrick Waugh category. I would not even be putting him in the Yaroslav Halak category yet. I think everyone take a breath and relax. Because 3 of those men went to Stanley Cup finals, 2 of those men won cups. That is vastly different than winning a first round series. Jakub Dobeš was absolutely fantastic. He is, quite frankly, the only reason they won Game 7. And so when you look at Montreal as a team, I think that the series with Buffalo is going to be tremendously entertaining. You have 2 teams that are young, that have sort of built to this spot, that have players that everybody wants to watch, that have playoff atmospheres. You are not going to get 2 better playoff atmospheres in a matchup than Buffalo and Montreal. That is absolutely brilliant, and I'm really excited for the series. I don't see how either one of those teams gets past Carolina unless Freddie Anderson forgets how to play goal. And if we're being intellectually honest here, I'm not sure that if they somehow managed to beat Carolina, that they wouldn't get absolutely curb stomped by any one of Vegas, Minnesota, or Colorado.
Yeah, that's all fair.
They're good, but they're not that good.
And the final one, why did the Wild decide to run and gun with the Avalanche? And can they stop the flood by playing with better structure and better defensively?
I would not have done that. I'm not going to lie to you. I would not have shown, and I have worked for John Hines. I am almost 100% positive he did not go in there and go, let's get into a river hockey fight with the Colorado Avalanche without Joel Eriksson Ek and Jonas Brodin. There's going to be a lot more structure that needs to be played with. Now, when you have 2 guys like that who are 2 of your best defensive players in your entire organization missing, you're going to have some problems. But you have to be able to defend. When you score 6 goals, you should win a playoff game. And they didn't. And I don't think that we're going to see a performance like that out of either goaltender again. That was pretty uncharacteristic of them both. And if Colorado continues to be able to score with impunity, that's bad news for the Minnesota Wild, because at some point, Colorado is going to scrape it together defensively. And if they do, Minnesota does not have enough offensive firepower to keep up. I think they have to be able to win the 2-1, 3-2 games in this series if they're going to have a chance.
Good stuff. Thanks for this. Have a great week. We'll talk to you Monday.
Sounds good, Lowetide.
There you go. Rachel Krychak, Athletics. Man, there's good information out there right now. It's a fun league right now. There's great hockey going on. Toronto Maple Leafs Media Avail, and lots happening here in Edmonton. Those media conferences were wild in the streets. We'll talk to Jason Krueger about them as well. Coming up at 1:20 today, 1:40, we have Declinations. With Declan, we're going to be talking MMA and a couple of boxing matches. Lowdown with Lowetide, brought to you by Wolf GMC Buick on Sports 1440 and YouTube. Time for an update with Declan.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
Brought to you by Elks Nation. For the best Elks coverage year-round with podcasts and articles, go to elksnation.ca. Player interviews, game analysis, and more. The best green and gold coverage online, elksnation.ca. NHL schedule tonight at 5 o'clock. We will see the Philadelphia Flyers in Carolina to take on the Hurricanes. Carolina leading that series 1-0. Anaheim and Vegas at 7:30. Game one of their second-round matchup. And in the NBA, tonight we'll see Philly and New York at 6 o'clock. Minnesota, San Antonio at 7:30. Game one in both of those series. MLB actually gets going at 3:40 with the Mets and the Rockies. A little bit later on, we'll see the Blue Jays in Tampa take on the Rays at 4:40. Lauer on the mound in that one. From around the sporting world, John Shaka has been named the new general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and former Raptors executive Masai Ujiri has been tabbed as the Dallas Mavericks president. Tariq Skubal with an elbow injury is set to undergo surgery, and Rasmus Dahlin, Gabe Landeskog, and Taves have been named the Bill Masterson Trophy finalists. I'm Declan Krueger. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440, Stingray Radio Station. CKJR broadcasts from West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin.
Download the free Stingray music app and listen wherever you go.
Good to go. With Mortgages to Go, you'll be good to go. Mortgagestogo.ca says yes when the banks say no. That's why Alberta has trusted Mortgages to Go for over 23 years. If you need cash and have equity in your home, you're approved instantly, guaranteed. Call 1-888-888-5998. That's 1-888-888-5998. With Mortgages to Go, you'll say, good to go.
The tents are up and the deals are out. The Brick's biggest sale of the season is on now. Take up to 60% off clearance items in the tents. Sofas start at $399 and save up to 50% on select mattresses. Plus, only until Monday, take until 2030 to pay with 0% interest. Get a sofa, coffee table, mattress, bed frame, and dining set, all for less than $1,500. Only at the Brick's tent sale. OAC, see in store for details and exclusions. The Brick, saving you more.
Hey there, I'm in the Fountain Tire sidecar, making a list of the things I'm doing this spring. 1. Saving you money, with up to 20% off select tires until June 13th. 2. Water skiing, tricky in a sidecar, but fun. And 3. Saving you more money, with mail-in rebates of up to $100 off a set of 4 select tires and $50 off a $150 service with the purchase of 4 select tires. Oh, that's 4 things. Oh well, restrictions apply. Book online at fountaintire.com. Fountain Tire. We're on this road together, Canada.
My go-to move for getting out of the doghouse is catch of the week. Forget flowers. I head there, and the staff points me to the perfect fish and tells me how to cook it. It's easier than you think. Last week, I made an incredible salmon dinner. My wife was so impressed, she forgot why she was mad. It's my secret weapon. It works every time. They're just 5 minutes from Sherwood Park, but it's worth the drive from anywhere. Stop thinking about dinner and just go to Catch of the Week.
Make sure to visit catchoftheweekedmonton.com.
The Ford It's a Big Deal event is on now. Get a big deal on a 2026 F-150 STX with Black Appearance Package. Visit your Alberta Ford store today.
The Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440. Can you fit Sports Encyclopedia on a business card?
Presented by Wolf GMC Buick. We're making it easy. WolfGMCBuick.com.
family owned, community driven. We're making it easy. Visit wolfgmcbuick.com. Very busy hour on the way at 1:20. It's Jason Krueger. We're going to talk about the media avails that everybody's talking about and get his take on what it could mean. And at 1:40 today, it's declinations, MMA, lots going on there, and a couple of fights, a couple of boxing matches. As you know, I like to share my life with you in little increments when things occur. You know that I married Karen in September, and that we are living happily ever after and having a wonderful time doing it. On Friday night, we said goodbye to Karen's dad, Bob Alosio. He'd been in my father-in-law for less than 8 months. I knew him for just a couple of years, but he had a tremendous impact. He was a real gentleman in every sense of the word. He was a teacher and a counselor. He may have taught some of you at Holy Cross or St. Hilda's and some other spots around Edmonton over the years. After I met Karen, I wanted to get to know her family, like you do, and her parents. Bob and Sophie lived together, beautiful life together for over 60 years. They were married. Wonderful couple, great love and affection. Nothing could separate them except the illness that took Bob on the weekend. He was 86. He had his first heart attack when he was 39 and proceeded to become a medical marvel over many years. Fantastic guy, great sense of humor, loved gardening, humor. His family, most of all, told wonderful stories. And he was a good and kind man. He put more into life than anyone I know. I was blessed to meet Bob, tour his garden, enjoy his warmth and humor, and I'm always grateful he welcomed me into his beautiful family. He left all of us richer for knowing him, so I wanted to say a little bit about Bob today because he's only been gone for a few days, but we miss him terribly. And he had a tremendous impact on me over a couple of years, and he did that and more for everyone that he knew. So, a couple minutes after 1 o'clock now, and since there's all kinds of stories going on, we have the Oilers story and the media avails. We'll talk to Jason about that at 1:20. And we will talk to Declan about the fights and the MMA at 1:40. I want to get into this Toronto Maple Leafs thing because, and I expressed last week about this. I know that I grew up watching TV with the eye test, and then I became very familiar, along with Josh's dad and some others, by just following some really innovative people online, and they were just at the genesis of the analytics movement. So Josh's dad came up with Fenwick, and there was Corsi, which was named after an old Oilers goalie by Tim Barnes, who's a Washington Capitals executive now, and came up through the analytics side of hockey. Tyler Dello was a part of that. Dennis King, others, lots of really intelligent people. And I was there following along, trying to figure it all out. And I enjoy that side of the game. I do think it's informative. But I'm also completely aware that there are, hockey men who reject it for the most part. And so there were two worlds that collided today in Toronto at the Toronto Maple Leafs media avail. John Chayka, controversial general manager who pursued really good hockey players, made great trades, acquired Taylor Hall and others, did it at significant cost, mind you. But there's an interesting analytic brain there, and his story is well documented. And Matt Sundin, who has the face of the Toronto Maple Leafs, I think, short of Dave Keon in his prime as a, maybe a 50-year-old guy, or Frank Mahovlich or Johnny Bauer, or Wendell Clark, this would have been the ideal candidate. I think Matt Sundin could do a very good job. Rachel talked about that in our last segment. But I want to flesh out the idea of analytics as a good/bad idea. Now, anything that can inform you and help you and possibly predict the future is something that has value to executives in sports, because we see it in baseball, we see it in basketball, and we see it in hockey. You're always looking for an edge. And a lot of people say, well, everybody gets the data, but that's not the key. The key is finding people who can read the data properly. And even that's not enough. Tampa Bay are very smart analytically. Carolina, very smart analytically. It doesn't necessarily get you over the line. What it can do is it can keep you in the window of opportunity to get over the line. And I think we're seeing that in Carolina and Tampa Bay, not so much in Toronto, and frankly, not so much in Edmonton. We'll see how it goes over the summer. But the Toronto Maple Leafs made a move today that I find fascinating because most major companies, most owners, most high-end executives who make, who have suits that cost more than our cars are risk averse. And the Toronto Maple Leafs are, they're the old money of hockey. And what they did today was not in keeping with what you would expect them to do. Chayka is a controversial individual. Sundin does not have a massive hockey background. And Steve Simmons, the tip of the spear in the media veil, calling out the team basically for hiring Chayka and saying other NHL executives think it's terrible. I'm not certain that that's a bad thing, but let's assume that it is. And so we are here now. We are here with the Toronto Maple Leafs having jumped in on an executive who is extremely controversial, but has oodles of knowledge and has had success in business, and his company's had success in the hockey business. So what do we do? What do we do with this information? Clearly, this is a longer than a 1 or 2 year adventure the Leafs are on. Let's give them 5 years. I think we should all remember with great precision how everyone is reacting to this. Because, I'm an analytics guy. I am. I believe in analytics. I believe in the eye test and analytics. And you can do both. But I'm not saying Chayka is it, baby. He's the guy. Because even when I look at his record, he really did target fantastic players when he was making trades and acquiring players. But he also traded away a lot, right? So you have to, balance what he was doing. I'm going to watch with great interest what happens with the Toronto Maple Leafs moving forward. And I think that Sundin and Chayka will have to be a really strong team. Rachel mentioned, talking with Austin Matthews. There's a non-search. If this were NBA and McDavid and Matthews contracts were ending the same summer, we would be waiting to find out, who's going to South Beach. Isn't that how the NBA works, where everybody leaves and goes to a team and crowns them the king?
Well, kind of a one-time thing. Now, you and Ray, did you hear Steve Simmons' his comments to?
I've read them. Did not have a chance to confirm them. So I read them, but I didn't confirm.
I have them here. It's a 59-second clip if we want to play it. It's
please do.
Okay. All right. Let me get it loaded up here. And I should be good to play it whenever you are.
Well, go for it right now. Steve Simmons.
Steve Simmons, Toronto Sun, for Keith. You talk about the due diligence that you did on John prior to hiring him and now hiring him. In the past, say 3 to 4 days, I have been in contact with about 20 people who work in the National Hockey League, many of whom are prominent names that we would all know. And of the 20 people I spoke to, one was supportive of John's hiring and the other 19 thought it was a sham, to be perfectly honest. Words were used like con artist, liar, salesman. How did you come to a different conclusion than I was able to come to in a very short time?
I must have talked to different people.
That's it? Because I'm telling you, the hockey world today is astounded by this announcement.
Okay.
And your response to that?
Is we've conducted due diligence and it was deep due diligence. It was a thorough process and I'm quite happy with where we've landed.
Okay.
So is that the end of the clip?
Yes.
Okay. The beauty of that is that it with great detail, even though it's only 59 seconds, it frames the issue. The NHL community, the establishment, the suits are disenchanted with this hiring. What the hell are they bringing this guy into our club for? It's like have you ever joined a country club like golf or anything like that?
They all turned me away.
Really? That's sad.
I had a golf membership. It was not a country club. It was a public course.
Okay. So
I tried to get Josh to let me in. He couldn't even do it.
There's a lot of rules, baby. But anyway, the point being that at some level, the hire has crashed the party. My question for you is, who cares? if your nose is out of joint because this guy, you can read about it. I mean, he was suspended for a time. There was clearly something that was beyond the pale. But the Toronto Maple Leafs see something in him that they believe will allow them to win the Stanley Cup. Do you want safe, or do you want somebody who really is trying to win? This could crash and burn.
Well, it's Toronto, so it probably will.
Having said that, I'm sorry, but I like the bet. It's brazen. It's brazen, like hiring Glenn Sather, who is a third line guy, to become the coach and then the general manager of the Edmonton Oilers. Who had that on their list of things that was going to happen? Not every move that you make has to be, the expected one. And in a lot of ways, the expected one got the Edmonton Oilers Peter Chiarelli, Ken Holland, and Stan Bowman. I have to say, I don't know that this move in Toronto today is going to work out. And I'm not saying that I know how it's going to work that next week. But on the face of it, the amount of pushback that I've seen, some from analytics people. So I have to respect the fact that maybe Cheka's analytics are not universally revered. But I also confess that this is me. This is an individual, a human being who wears a lot of hoodies. I read Megan Cheka all the time. I think she's stunningly smart. So I'm assuming that there's, brother, sister, there's some, intelligent waves going every way. But I think that this is this could be a real turning point for a franchise that, quite frankly, needs one. And the Toronto Maple Leafs are not that much different than the Edmonton Oilers. And I'm going to put this aside, wait for things to happen in Toronto, but I'm also going to compare the decision making in Edmonton and see. This to me is either a belly flop off the high board, or it's true innovation that will lead them to somewhere very good. There's no middle ground here. There's just zero middle ground. This isn't splitting it in half. This is I'm all in, and I'm going to win this hand and win the world, or I'm penniless. I like the bet. I'm sorry. I do. I like the idea of doing something brazen, especially when you're old money. And that's what the Toronto Maple Leafs are in terms of the world that we live in. The Maple Leafs brand has been beaten senseless, first by Sam Pollock and then by Toronto's own ridiculousness. But it is fascinating to me. And I'm old, I know, and nobody else cares, but I do. It's fascinating to me on the day after the Montreal Canadiens win a round against a tough opponent, and they're on their way up through hard work, drafting, and all those things that people take for granted but are real and important, that the Toronto Maple Leafs finally, after 70,000 years, they last won a cup in 1967, have done something brazen. The last brazen thing that the Toronto Maple Leafs did that worked out was hiring Punch Imlach, who won them several Stanley Cups. All right, it's 1:15. I'm just in love with all of these stories that are happening right now. You know how sometimes, when the Oilers went out, I'm like, what are we going to talk about? Now we got these cats making great trade ideas. We got the Toronto Maple Leafs making a brazen move, and Steve Simmons getting up there and tearing a strip off of them on behalf of the establishment. I want you to understand that. Steve Simmons was expressing the establishment NHL view, and the Maple Leafs were on defense. Oh my God. Well, this is wild. It truly is in the National Hockey League. Jason Gregor is on the way next. We have declinations coming up at 1:40. This is the Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440, and we're brought to you by Wolf GMC Buick.
Got a car you're ready to
Cucurella got a stick on the puck. Caves over. McCarr with it. Cale McCarr shots it! Cale McCarr, the answer! Jake Evans against Nick Paul. Bouncing it back. Kucherov a shot. It's blocked. It's dropped out. And Montreal is bound for the second round to meet the Buffalo Sabres as they have come into Tampa Bay and won it 2-1. He's down for the second time in the fight, and it's all being over. 7. Ramirez can't continue. History has been made. David Benavidez, the first fighter to win titles at 168, 175, and now at 200 pounds.
We are thankful. If you're looking for a truck or SUV, pop in and one of our seasoned professionals will get you a great deal hassle-free. Come trust our team at Wolf GMC Buick. Wolf GMC Buick. We're making it easy.
Breaking down the fine art of sports, one rep at a time. The Lowdown with Lowetide. Thanks for checking out Sports 1440.
Presented by Wolf GMC Buick. We're making it easy. WolfGMCBuick.com.
It's the Lowdown on Sports 1440 at 1:19. We're brought to you by Wolf GMC Buick. Check them out, wolfgmcbuick.com. Beautiful day, springtime, so much going on, so much to talk about. And it's time for our headline of the day, brought to you by Faber. Debt holding you back? Let Faber's licensed insolvency trustees help you tackle your debt. Book your free consultation at faber.ca or call 877-944-1177. You're now joined by Jason Krueger. Jason, how was your weekend?
It was sunny, Al. A little windy, but overall, pretty good.
Yeah, I liked it. Springtime, almost. Okay, let's start with the Oilers media avails. I thought there was some great comments. I have to say, these are intelligent individuals, obviously media savvy, but McDavid, Draisaitl comments were great. I thought that Stan Bowman was precise and admitted a few things that had maybe gone wrong during the year and took some accountability. Obviously, Chris Knobloch, interesting one as well. What was your overall takeaway from all of the comments made by coaches and players and management?
Well, I think they were honest about a lot of the levels of the team that, they were pretty much an average team all year long. Well, slightly above average because I guess they made the playoffs, but not much above average. And a lot of that was, I think, responsibility from everybody. it isn't just the GM, it isn't just the coaches, it wasn't just the assistant coaches, it's also the players, everybody involved. And I look at the Oilers, and there's a lot of, I think a lot of people that are thinking, oh my God, the Oilers are like so far away because they're, not as good as they were in 2024. Well, I don't, and the greatest example to look at is Tampa Bay. And, people look at Tampa Bay and everybody, loves John Cooper, right? They love John Cooper. Everybody wants to get rid of Chris Knoblauch because, they didn't win the Cup this year. Well, John Cooper went to the Cup in 2015. When did he get back to the Cup? How many years later? 5. One of those years, they had at the time, the best regular season ever. Lost in the first round. So the knee-jerk reaction by a lot of people, I think, is desperation. And when you start making moves based on desperation, that's when you make worse moves. This organization needs to have an honest approach, but also a calm one. Knee-jerk reactions, getting rid of guys because, this guy doesn't like him, and I don't like this guy, and I want to find someone to blame, is not going to put the Oilers on the right path. We all know that there's 2 years for Connor McDavid on his current contract. Well, the 2 years prior to his contract ending, people said the same thing. So if anything, the organization should have experience not to have a knee-jerk reaction, not to freak out, not to have to rush to any rash decision. You got Connor McDavid for 2 years. 2 years is a long time in the NHL world. Lots can happen. And I don't think the Oilers are that far away because there's no team in the league other than Edmonton who has 2 of the top 5 players. So you have that advantage. Now, you have to make the right moves this offseason, for sure. But I also think, the players themselves, Draisaitl said it, his defensive game wasn't as good. Like that, at the end of the day, that's the problem with Edmonton. They can't commit consistently to playing good defensive hockey.
Amen.
That's their main thing. It's their main thing.
And I, the way I feel about it is that there's opportunities here, Jason, but there's also danger because if you overreact to this, situation, let's take goaltending as an example. Everybody wants an upgrade, but you know what? It wasn't an upgrade to go from Skinner to Jari. Is Connor Ingram maybe a guy who you can, sign and use as your starter? I don't know, but I also know unless it's Gustafsson or somebody out there that is clearly established, that you're probably just going to be changing one version of Gray for another.
Well, very true. Yeah. And, you look at Gustafsson, how good is Gustafsson in the playoffs? He's never won a playoff series.
Yeah.
Right? So, and he makes $6.8 million. I said it when the Skinner got traded. I told people, I'm like, everybody thought for sure this was going to be a lock win of a trade. It hasn't been. Now, the trade isn't over.
Right.
Right. Jari still got 2 years to salvage the trade. Right. It didn't work out as well as Edmonton wanted. Jari got hurt and never came back to being the same player. Part of that was due to opportunity. Part of it, I think, was due to him just not being at the level he was. So, here's a player. You can find out a lot about people when the chips are down. Mm-hmm. It's easy for everybody to get along great and be happy when things are going well, right? That's easy. Well, easier, I should say. Not easy, but easier. And now we'll see. Like Tristan Jari, I would assume you don't get to the NHL with having a pretty high pride factor. Mm-hmm. So he's looking and said, you know what? I got the opportunity to show some people wrong here. I can be better. Yeah. And if the defense in front of him is better, that will help. There's no question, right? Like you look at any team, like everybody was raving about Wallstead. Well, is Wallstead not good anymore because he gave up 8 goals because one was an empty netter, right? Is Minnesota's defense that bad or was it bad for one game, right? Like Edmonton's had those games. Like you look at Edmonton and there's one thing I have to disagree with. You said, well, Edmonton, Toronto, they're the same. I don't think they're close to the same.
Mm-hmm.
In the last 5 years, Edmonton has played the most playoff games in the NHL, right? They have the second most wins behind Florida. If winning is what matters the most, then Edmonton's right up there, right? Then you've got Carolina. Now, even if Carolina went 7 games in the conference final, 7 games in the Stanley Cup final, and 7 games in this series, they still don't play as many games as Edmonton over the last 5 years, right? So Edmonton, regardless of what happens for the remaining way of the playoffs, will have the most playoff games in a 5-year span. Now, I get that they haven't won the Cup, but you can't guarantee a Cup. It's impossible. Injuries are such a major factor. You get a lucky bounce, unlucky bounce. Lots of things go into it. So you want to have a team that gives you an opportunity to have a realistic kick of the cat, right? And I think if Draisaitl, McDavid, Hyman, Dickinson and Henrique are healthy in the playoffs, do you think they beat the Anaheim Ducks?
Well, the penalty kill would be better, and that's for damn sure. That was a big problem. See, I think that I know they won't, but I wouldn't mind if they returned with the defense and the goaltending intact. I like the top two lines. I'd like a scorer on the third line. I don't think that I think that their breakouts and their structure and the penalty kill, a lot of this is, as you said, attention to detail and structure and commitment, and everybody buying in to whatever system they use, and then being able to repeat. When they're good, they have a repeatable way of playing a game, and they stay within that confines. And for me, it's frustrating to watch, and I don't necessarily think that a new coach would change that, simply because this team is more focused on offense than defense, and they've got to be reminded about doing the eating your vegetables sort of thing in terms of defense. But my concern is that a big deal that sends away something important might hurt. And I'm going to bring up a name, Darnell Nurse. Okay. And the reason I bring him up is because Matthias Ekholm and Jake Wallman on the left side are veteran guys, but they are also a little bit injury prone. Mm-hmm. And no disrespect to them, they're wonderful players. Darnell Nurse is healthy. I don't know, but when's the last time that he missed 40 games?
Yeah, I think he's had one injury in his career, and pretty much other than that, he might miss the odd game or two, and but he's been pretty healthy. He goes to the bench 25 seconds later. If he's needed, he goes back out. The guy is he has the advantage that he has, one of them anyway, is that he can plug in anywhere. And he can play big minutes, heavy big minutes. He can do it. Now, I'm not saying he's a perfect player, but if it's an issue, maybe he plays with Bouchard next year. Wallman plays with whomever. When you're sending out somebody who can play that many minutes, and the other two guys on that left side are a little bit injury prone, you're leaving yourself at least a little bit vulnerable. Oh,
fair?
Totally valid.
Yeah,
I think in the case of Nurse, we kind of know what he is,
mm-hmm.
and one of the big things for the Edmonton Oilers is I think I don't think Chris Knoblauch had a great year. I think it's fair to say, like the team,
mm-hmm.
Chris Knoblauch, he didn't take a step forward. Right? Now, it's hard to take a step forward when you've been in the Stanley Cup final. The only forward step is to win the Stanley Cup. So I understand that.
Pretty good resume.
Right? It's tough. But at times in the regular season, I felt that as a head coach, there's a few things here that I would want different moving forward. Number one, I think he erred in his filling out his coaching staff at the start of the season.
Right.
They lost a lot of experience in Gulutzan, and then they lost Paul Coffey, who had tons of playing experience and communication, all that stuff. And so Mark Stewart got promoted from just running the penalty kill to running the defense.
Right.
And they brought in McFarland. Now the power play was the same, no problem, but Glenn Gulutzan didn't just run the power play. He had some other inputs, and Knoblauch even talked about he learned a lot from him, no doubt. So I would look at this offseason, I'm not one to want to fire people, but I just look internally, he kind of got fired.
Right.
Was Mark Stewart.
Right.
Paul Coffey comes back. Stewart loses his role. He's overseeing the penalty kill. The penalty kill's terrible. Look at their last two playoffs, 67%, 50%. And by the way, they changed the entire penalty kill system this year,
mm-hmm.
right? So that it was Stewart's. So that's your responsibility.
Right.
And there has to be some change, right? Different voice. So I would look at where Knoblauch, I see him needing to add an experienced assistant coach. Winning teams have experience. Not everybody. Go look at Florida. Florida's bench boss after Paul Maurice there's not another head coach with, another assistant coach with head coaching experience at the NHL. So it's not a must, but it definitely helps, right? Now, I know Bruce Cassidy's out there, and I see a lot of people talking about Bruce Cassidy, and that's valid, right? He's got a pretty good resume. Now, again, to counter that, I would say, how many coaches, right? Scotty Bowman did it in a different era, but he did it.
Over a long period of time.
Yeah,
too,
and he won with two different teams, right? So can you do it? Yes, but it's pretty rare.
Yeah.
Can we agree that it's pretty rare?
Also, he won in Montreal, then he went to GM and wasn't good in Buffalo, and then years later, I'm talking years later.
Well, he won in Pittsburgh.
Yes, he did. 91, so that would have been
so a little bit. But he also had 8 Hall of Famers. So
sure.
No offense, it's a good coaching gig, right? You still have to do it, but it's a good gig. So you could bring in Bruce Cassidy. You're like, he's got a short window and it's worked. Yeah, okay. It worked one time. It's not a lock though. You can do it, But the thing is, the advantage Edmonton can have of having an off season where when they come into the same coaching staff, you're not learning all new things, right? You only have 4 preseason games this year, and you can only play 2 for your veterans. So teams who change their coach are going to be at a disadvantage to start the year. I've talked to Ken Hitchcock about this. He's done it as a coach. He says it is impactful early in the year. Doesn't guarantee that you can't have success. It's just you're giving yourself a little bit behind the 8 ball. So I look at Chris Knobloch and say, hey, there's things I like about him. And then there's areas as a coach you can always improve. The players need to improve. What did Connor McDavid say? He goes, I know this sounds strange, but as veterans, we need to develop more. So you got to develop a better, consistent defensive game. I think Knobloch has to develop. Where I would develop in Knobloch is number 1, I'm going to reduce the minutes of my top end guys.
No.
I'm going to play McDavid around 21, 21 and a half. Now, some games, of course, he's going to be 25. I get it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to make sure that I find players and get players that can be on the penalty kill, and they're going to be on my penalty kill. Now, if McDavid has to take 15 seconds of the final penalty kill after we ice the puck down and they're changing, right? They're not getting set up. Great.
Yeah.
I don't need him on the damn penalty kill.
No.
I'm sorry. I don't care how good of a penalty killer he is. He doesn't, unless you're going to play him less minutes 5-on-5, which makes no sense to me because I'm putting him on the penalty kill where there's very low chance of scoring. McDavid's best trait, last time I checked, is scoring.
Yeah.
So let's put him in positions, power play, 5-on-5, 4-on-4, 3-on-3, where you can score more goals.
Yeah.
Right? I would do that. And then when it comes to a guy like Nurse and even Bouchard, I think as a coach, next year, when you set the standard, there's going to be, if you've got glaring giveaways over and over again, you have to sit guys down. He did it to Leon Draisaitl because he took penalties in 4 straight games. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
And then Draisaitl didn't take a penalty. Now, he only sat him down for 6 minutes, but the message was sent.
No.
There was not one of those this year. And that's, for me as a coach, the toughest part of a coach is making the tough decisions.
Yeah.
And I don't think he showed that this year. So is it an area he's done in the past? Yes. Did he do it last year? No. He needs to improve it.
So if I say McDavid with Savoy and Hyman and Draisaitl with Podkolzin and Kapanen and Dickinson with, say, Nuge and whoever I haven't thought of on the right wing, let's say it's Ike Howard. And then the fourth line, you've got whoever the fourth line center is, and then Doc and Frederick. How much of that, because I like that Doc Frederick combination. I would like to bring that back. How much do they need to change? And is it Kapanen, or do you not bring Howard in? Do you move him for something else? I don't know.
It's a good question. I think Ike Howard, they're going to try to give him an opportunity basically to say, here, you can replace Jack Rosovic's minutes, right? 5-on-5, second unit power play, right? That's essentially what it is. Now, he doesn't have the advantage that Matt Savoy had. Matt Savoy got to find his way in the NHL on a third line, but also got some penalty kill time. So that kept his minutes up, right? Kept you involved in the game. Now, I know Ike Howard did a little bit of penalty killing late in the year, but not enough that I think he's going to be starting in the NHL next year.
No, it's a process, right? Yeah.
And so Trent Frederick sounds like they're going to get him on the penalty kill, right? Because you can't pay the guy that much money and then expect him to do anything in 9 minutes regularly, right? It's not. Now, the other interesting one I heard was that, Doc has played center before, right? I like Szymanski, but there are areas of his game that need to improve. And I think they totally can. I think probably because he has Leon Draisaitl, who really wants him to succeed. He's going to be, okay, Leon, what do I have to do? He's like, well, you got to get stronger, son, because I watch in puck battles and you lose too many puck battles.
Yeah.
So that's number one. So we can work on that. That's easy. Draisaitl, I think, has a template. Everybody remember, he can't really skate as a 19-year-old. Then he came back as a 20-year-old and I asked him, what'd you do? He goes, well, I basically deadlifted every day. And when he says it, I was like, yeah, he probably did deadlift every day, right? So I think Szymanski, that part of his game, he'll learn. Defensive awareness on a team that doesn't have a lot, he's got it naturally. That's, he needs to work on the offensive side. Fine.
Yeah.
But at least he's got the defensive game. Like, he'd rather be, I'm going to be good defensively and risk offense, right? Like, he didn't do much offensive. Now, Dickinson, I like the idea. I'm really confident they can sign Connor Murphy. Like, I'll be stunned if they don't sign Connor Murphy. And I think Connor Murphy really likes it. I think Dickinson, not that I don't think the organization wants him. Dickinson's younger.
Yeah.
I think he's got a chance here to get a big deal at 4 or 5 years.
Sure.
And there's not a lot of centers. I could see him maybe thinking like, you know what? Like, let's see. Maybe he'll do what Brett Kulak did. Remember when Brett Kulak walked to free agency, stuck his nose inside, did the Mr. Simpson, walked around, let's see what's in here. Oh, geez. Well, no one's a better offer. I'm out. Right?
What about Kapanen? Do you think he signs here?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think they should.
Yeah, no,
right?
I agree. He's very effective with Draisaitl specifically, but effective.
Yes. Well, and on it can kill penalties. Like I'm looking, you need players to fill roles.
Yeah.
He can kill penalties. Like Podkolzin's got to be a penalty killer next year for me.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
how can he not be? Works hard, figure it out, whatever system you want, send it to him. Let's get him to penalty kill. He should be a good penalty killer. He skates well. No one can question his work ethic. So why can't he be a penalty killer? Like, I don't get it. So if I got Kapanen, I got Podkolzin, I got Nugent Hopkins. Now, Nugent Hopkins is an interesting one for me, Al. As they move forward in the organization, I said McDavid's minutes need to come down. I think Nugent Hopkins' minutes need to come down.
I agree.
Right? And then if he's not on your top line 5-on-5, that's where it'll come down, right? He's still effective on the power play. And if he's on the penalty kill and then he's on your third line regularly, that's where his minutes come down. And it doesn't mean it can't. Less minutes doesn't always mean you'll be less effective. Now, if it falls down to 9 or 10, it's much harder. But lots of guys most guys in the NHL are 13 to 15 minute a night guys.
Yeah.
Right?
And he's making $5 million, but if he's doing all of those things, then
he's still worth it.
Yeah.
Right? $5 million buck player. Like lots of guys have like 8 or 9 of those guys now. Forwards.
I'm old, Jason. So when I see a Montreal Canadiens goaltender play well in a playoffs, I think Ken Dryden. Maybe other people think Patrick Waugh or Carey Price. It's a nightmare scenario for me because I saw it so much with the Habs winning the Stanley Cup. I don't think this is a Stanley Cup team, but they're announcing their presence.
That was, you know what? It was a great series. It was tight, very tight the entire time. It's interesting how, and there's a great example. So people are like, the Oilers, they need a new coach. They need a new goalie. Okay, well, and like Tampa Bay has a superstar last I checked. They got a great coach. They got a great goaltender. They haven't won a playoff round since 2022, right? They haven't. And it's hard. And they're a good team. They made the playoffs every year. They had some injuries this year. Hedman isn't in, so that obviously impacts them. But they only gave up 9 shots in a playoff game and lost.
Crazy.
Right? And lost. It's Oiler fans are like, hey, I remember that. Yeah. Game 6, 2024 against Dallas. Stuart Skinner won them the game, right? Those are the only 2 teams in the salary cap era that have won a game with 10 by having 10 shots or less. Yeah. Edmonton 24, Montreal last night. And now I look at Montreal, they go into Buffalo, they get that extra day's rest. That'll obviously help because they're out partying last night, as they should. And Dobush, he was great in both elimination games, right? He was very good. Although I guess it wasn't an elimination game for them in game 6, but they had a chance to eliminate him and he did his part in that game. So, it should be a good series against Buffalo. The Habs are exciting. I think I like Buffalo only in the sense that I do like their defense 1 through 6 better.
They are really sound.
Yes. Is Rasmus Dahlin as good as Hudson? I'd argue he's better because he's bigger, does more things. Now, getting Dobson back was huge for Montreal, right? So that'll help it out. But Bowen Byron's played unreal. You got Samuelson. I really like the D-core there. I think that's going to be a good series.
What's coming up on the show?
Well, we got lots. Because I saw a lot of the comments on the weekend, and I kind of chuckle, and it's a real sad state of our hockey society in Canada that when a Canadian team loses in the playoffs, their superstar player is going to want to get traded right away, and not even right away, 2 years from now. What the hell are we doing? Do any of you know what you're going to be doing in 2 years confidently? Can you say 100% where you'll be in your job in 2 years? Honestly, you hope that maybe you'll be in the same spot, or maybe you'll have a promotion, but this is ridiculous. And then Pierre LeBrun, sorry, Pierre, but Leon Draisaitl, what? Where does that come from? What do you mean he might get you could say that about every freaking player in the NHL. No. The Oilers have had a lot of success. They haven't won. I get it. But I don't hear people saying, John Cooper's going to want to leave. Kucherov's obviously going to want to get out of Tampa Bay. Or what about Sebastian Aho in Carolina? Yeah. What have they ever won? How come no? What about Dallas? Miro Heiskanen. He should be lining up to get the hell out of Dallas because they can't get to the Stanley Cup final. No. And so Canadian fans who do it, everybody just augments it. It's idiotic. Call out the morons who keep saying this. Come up with something that's rational for today. You can say, hey, Connor McDavid has 2 years left in his contract. The Oilers want to win in 2 years. Well, thanks, Captain Obvious. We all know that.
No.
But you don't have to say, or he's going to leave. Well, he might, or he might not.
No.
You don't know. And even if he leaves, it doesn't guarantee where he goes. is going to give him a better chance of success.
Also, he was on each of the 10 or 11 teams that did not win the Stanley Cup, and he was a big part of it. So I think he would want to stay here and get the job done. I believe that.
Al, I remember when Ray Bourque got dealt. Now, it was later in his career, right? Like he
40.
was 39, right? So a little bit different. And they had lost 2 cups, and then he kept staying there. Like, I kind of don't like the quitter idea that people project. Like, he wants to win so bad, he's going to quit on the team that got really close with. And like I said, I use Tampa as a great example. Tampa Bay got John Cooper in. They went to the Stanley Cup final in 2015. What happened from 15 then to 19? They had the best regular season we ever seen at that point. Didn't do anything. Then they won the cup, right? Then they won. Like, it's hard to win, and you want to take your punches at it. And I don't think Edmonton. Now, does Edmonton have some areas of concern? 1,000%. But if they're healthy, and you can't deny it, so you got to do things as an organization to put yourself in position so you have a better chance to stay healthy.
Yes.
And I think that is playing a few less minutes a night for your top guys. Also, it gets your bottom guys more engaged. And more importantly, thank God, the thing that stood out to me the most, Al, and then I'll leave, and I got Drysdale coming up on the show today, was the Edmonton Oilers actually said the regular season matters. They've never said it.
No, they haven't.
They finally admitted that, you know what, geez, we kind of took it for granted. And it does matter because you create the foundation of your team in the regular season.
Start as you mean to go. That's the way you do it.
Like, be good. And a good regular season doesn't guarantee you the cup success. I'm not saying that. But a bad regular season gets you knocked out in the first round.
And good habits form through doing them in the start and right through the end.
Yeah.
Jason, look forward to the show.
I'll have a good. Is that a new hoodie?
Yes. I just have to say, you cracked me up. You say one more and then I'm going to leave. Like, do we have a timer on you? All right. Look forward to the show,
See you,
Jason. Great. On the way, we have our friend Declan with Declinations. We're talking MMA and a couple of boxing matches to talk about. Lowdown with Lowetide, brought to you by Wolf GMC Buick on Sports 1440 and YouTube.
Mr. Rooter.
Equipment. Japa has the machines you need. Trusted since 1972. Visit japaequipment.com or stop by our Edmonton or Calgary locations.
Here's the Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440.
Presented by Wolf GMC Buick. We're making it easy. WolfGMCBuick.com.
Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440. I let that play, but I can't help it. It's such a good song. You kids out there writing pop singles, listen to ABBA. Oh my God, they're so good. Lowdown brought to you by Wolf GMC Buick, wolfgmcbuick.com. They're available anytime. And we're delighted. I'm saying delighted because I mean it. To present Declinations. Brought to you by Fairway Divorce Solutions, the clear road to a new life. There is a better way. Fairwaydivorce.com. And with that, because I took some of his time, and I mean a lot of his time, ladies and gentlemen, Declan Krueger.
All right, man, much to discuss. What a weekend of combat sports. First, I want to start it off with this. I know it is the Mama MMA segment. We will talk Carlos Prates and Jack Della Maddalena in a second, but Naoya Inoue. You guys, you two have heard me talk about him on this show.
Yes.
Listeners may have heard me talk about him on the show. He is, first of all, he just became the number one pound for pound fighter in the world based on the Rings rankings. This guy is as good at his sport as anyone in the world. Like McDavid, SGA, Shohei, he's right there with them. He fought. So this guy, first of all, he just became the undisputed super bantamweight champion, or retained the undisputed super bantamweight championship against a really, really tough, albeit kind of undersized, but so is he, opponent, Junto Nakatani. He is 33-0. Do you guys want to guess what fight number he fought for his first world title in? It was, your mic wasn't on, Josh, because you're eating a little bit and I'm very hungry, so I'm a little upset, but it was his sixth professional fight. He fought for a world title in his sixth professional fight. He is now 33-0. He has fought 28 consecutive world title fights. Like, this guy is special. Now, his knockout ratio has gone down a little bit. His last three fights have been decisions because he's moved up in weight. He's really tough to market because I think he's had one fight in the States, maybe a few more than that. Yeah, he's had like two fights in the States, it's looking like here. He is a 122 pounder out of Japan. He doesn't speak English, but he is the most exciting fighter out there. Like, his nickname's the Monster. If you have some spare time, I know I've said this about a couple guys, but if you really have some spare time, go watch Naoya Inoue's highlights. Like, he knocks these guys out with precision. He is so crisp. He is so clean. Number one pound for pound fighter in boxing, deservedly so, I may add. 33-0. And this was a super fight, by the way. Like, this was a Japanese super fight, but it was also a world boxing super fight between him and Junto Nakatani. Clinical performance, as always. We expect nothing less from him. Excuse me. He's truly probably the best, but if not the best, one of the absolute best in the world. Like, this guy is special stuff. David Benavidez as well. He won. You're going to hear his clip in Gregor's intro. You're going to hear his knockout win over Zurdo Ramirez. He's also 32-0. He's 29 years old. He won his first world title at 20. He became a three-weight world champion by winning the cruiserweight titles this past weekend, WBA and WBO cruiserweight titles. He is kind of like, I think the way I would describe him is like, if you see like a random like Instagram reel or TikTok of a boxing highlight, you saw him, because he's a bigger guy. Obviously, he's really a super middleweight, but just fought for the cruiserweight titles. He's got lightning fast hands. He's got super power. He started his career as he started his like athletic journey as like a little fat kid who took up boxing to shed weight and be athletic. And now he has transcended himself into one of the best fighters in boxing. He's the 5th ranked pound for pound fighter in the world. Lightning fast hands, ridiculous power. You're going to hear the call in Gregor's intro, so stay tuned for that. And just kind of a superstar making performance. Now, he calls out Canelo a little bit too much for my liking, but there's no doubt this guy is one of the most special fighters in world boxing today as well. UFC Perth this past weekend. Carlos Prates, I mean, this guy, like, I hate to just keep, just giving these guys their flowers because I'm such a cynic on this show in so many different areas, but he 7-1 in the UFC, all 7 wins by stoppage, by knockout, and 7 performance bonuses. His one loss, was to Ian Machado Gary, who is a guy we don't like. We like to hate on Ian Machado Gary, but we got to admit he's a little bit better than we would like to think he is. Jack Della Maddalena, former champion. This was his first fight since losing his world title. Got chopped down like a tree. Like, as an MMA, if you're an MMA fan, if you're a true MMA fan, there's nothing you appreciate more than a good leg kick or a good KO, TKO by leg kicks. That's what Carlos Prates did to Jack Della Maddalena. Like, just chopped him down. Flew over to his country, by the way. Flew over to his home country of Australia. Chopped him down like a tree, finished him. He's big for the weight class. He's a little bit wild. but he's so crisp. He is so fun to watch. And similar to what I said about David Benavidez, like, I think when people, if your buddy texts you, is like, hey, let's get together and let's go watch some UFC at the bar this weekend, you want to watch Carlos Prates. He is a wild man who is going to keep the fight standing. He has power coming from everywhere, whether it be from his kicks, from his punches, from his knees. He's wild. He kind of looks the part. He likes to smoke cigarettes. Lowetide, I know you're a bit of a boxing guy. I don't know if you remember Ricardo Mayorga from the early 2000s. He was a Nicaraguan who he would smoke. He just smoked. Like, he was smoking between camps.
What kind of an athlete do you have to be able to do that?
It caught up to him later in his career. I could do a whole 2 hours on Ricardo Mayorga. But my point is, Carlos Prates does this as well. Like, he smokes cigarettes. He's got kind of a porn stash to him. He's got like a tattooed side of the head. Just looks the part and fights the part. And I love Jack Della Maddalena, so it was a tough watch for me personally. But listen, Ian Machado Gary is better than we thought he was. Shavkat Rakhmonov is still sitting there, been on the sidelines for a while as well, who beat Ian Gary. But Carlos Prates, he is every non-fight fan's belief of what makes them want to watch fighting, is what I would say. So yeah, very great weekend in combat sports.
Love it. Well done. I love the way you describe it, because even though you're having a little bit of the sniffles, and we get that because it's time of year, you just have so much passion for it.
Yeah.
Which is, it really comes across on the radio.
Good. My biggest gripe with this segment is, like, I would like to do
You only get 10 minutes instead of 15 because I've been talking so much?
No, it's your show. You could give me 0 minutes and I'd have no problem with it. My only gripe, though, is that sometimes I go at this segment, like, I would love if I could talk about this segment to people who understand it. You know what I mean? As opposed to, like, trying to teach it. Like, I think it would come across better that way. But what am I to do? I'm not going to make it
you have to
listening.
speak to you have to speak to the, it's like, if you've ever seen, like, the World Series, they have 3 different World Series, and the one is for the people who watch once a year, and the other is for the people who watch every game, and they're just a different style. You're explaining things that maybe you wouldn't have to the other audience, and that's what you're doing. It's okay, because part of it is that these fights are not, I can't go home and turn it on like I would the 6 o'clock news, right?
Oh yeah, of course. And it's like, it's not for everyone. Let's be very clear. Like, dude, I did this and I was like, I don't know, man. Like, this looks pretty brutal to me.
I love it. I do. I love it. You find out in life as time goes. I don't want to be the guy who says, you young people don't do what my generation did. I have to say that I think that you do a really good job. Yeah.
Well, thank you. That's greatly appreciated.
Now we have just a minute or so. Can you explain why the 76ers won?
Oh yeah, Josh, go for it. I'm going to hit the outro.
76ers won because Jaylen Brown was minus 66 while on the court with the Boston Celtics, and when he was off, they were plus 23. They also missed 37 three-pointers. Credit to the Sixers defense, specifically VJ Edgecombe and Paul George, of all people. They were absolutely lights out defending down the stretch of this game. And then I even made a tweet about it on the offensive side of the ball. Tyrese Maxey went on I believe, an 8-0 run by himself after deferring to a guy like Joel Embiid, but he had a pretty nicked up knee. So he was just pulling shots from the corner. And Tyrese Maxey said, you know what, man, I'll do it myself. So all the credit in the world to the Sixers to go into the TD Garden and take out the number 2 seeded Celtics at full strength, essentially.
All right. Enjoyed this.
Was the intro the extra not going? Did I do it too fast? Oh, never mind.
Thanks. Enjoy your day.
This is the Sports 1440 update.
Brought to you by Sean Cunningham of Remax Real Estate. Get the home team advantage for your next move in the Edmonton area. If you're thinking about buying or selling a home, call or text Sean directly, 780-265-0165. NHL action tonight, Philly and Carolina, 5 o'clock puck drop. Game 2 of that series is Carolina leads 1-0. Anaheim and Vegas at 7:30 in the series opener. 2 series openers in the NBA as well. Philly and New York at 6 and Minnesota San Antonio at 7:30. While in the MLB, we will see the action get going with the Mets and Rockies at 3:40. Blue Jays and Rays at 4:40 with Lauer on the bump in that one. John Shaka has been hired, of course, by the Toronto Maple Leafs as their GM. Matt Sundin hired in an advisory role, while Masai Ujiri, former Raptors executive, has been tabbed the Dallas Mavericks. President Tariq Skubal set to go set to undergo elbow surgery, and Rasmus Dahlin, Landeskog, and Taves have been named the Bill Masterson Trophy finalists. Also, Toronto Blue Jays Varlin has won the AL Reliever of the Month award, and Jamal Mosley has been fired by the Orlando Magic after 5 seasons. I'm Declan Krueger. This has been the Lowdown with Lowetide, and up next is the Jason Greger Show.
Boy,